God bless everybody today. It is January 10th of 2023. This is a Daniel 8 update. Things are moving quickly, and I'm afraid that we are going to see a number of events occur that is going to lead to an invasion by Turkey and a destruction of Iran within potentially weeks or months. So let's look at these articles and see how this is all lining up with prophecy and how it relates to us today. The first article I wanted to present, I'm going to present a number of articles, and this will lead to a synopsis at the end, which I can break down and sort of give you where we are in time and how I think this is going to play out, possibly in the next few weeks, days, or months, and we'll see what happens as we move forward. I do not have a crystal ball. This is some speculation based on the paradigms and things that I've presented and what the prophets are telling us in conjunction to what is happening today. So this first article is, I realize what's happening is we're having a potential breakdown, meltdown between Israel, and this is affecting the Palestinians, Iran, Russia, Turkey, and a number of countries over here all at the same time. And so this is all going to melt down here fairly soon, and it's going to collapse. The first article I wanted to show you is that Israel's sanctions are leading to a potential collapse of the Palestinian Authority. And this is a problem because Palestine is in conjunction with Hezbollah, and Hezbollah is trying to avert a potential attack from Hamas. But Israel is completely frustrating everybody out here right now, and even Palestine is starting to feel the pressure. And if Palestine gives Hezbollah the okay, then Hezbollah, Hamas, and all these factions, their proxy to Iran, will start an attack. And when that occurs, we usually see potentially hundreds, if not thousands, of missiles being launched towards Israel. And this is going to cause a problem for Turkey because Turkey doesn't want to see the Temple Mount destroyed. So he's going to come into this picture over time. So Israel, at this moment, is doing a number of things that are affecting the Palestinians. And this is going to cause, and also Lebanon, also in Hamas, this is going to cause a lot of friction. And so these sanctions that Israel is placing on the Palestinians is going to ratchet this up fairly quickly. So Israel at this very moment is evicting a number of the Palestinians out of their occupied territories. And they're literally just moving people out of their homes, and they're losing everything and shifting them out of these areas. And so Israel's not being kind to the Palestinians right now, and I'm not against any group or set of people, because it's not usually the people that we have to deal with. It's usually the regimes of the people, just like Iran. Iran's people are not the ones that we should be watching. They're trying to gain freedom. It's the regime that's causing the problem. So this is the same thing here. Israel has banned flag flying of Palestinians in their occupied areas. So this is going to cause a rift. They're moving people out of these areas, and so they're bulldozing homes, they're evacuating people, and people are just being shoved out of these areas so Israel can reoccupy them. So this is causing all kinds of problems with the Palestinians, which then would feed back to Hezbollah and Hamas, which is the problem that's going to arise as we move forward, because these are the factions that are going to be the main catalyst that I believe will ratchet this up from the attack on the 3rd that we had. Two things occurred on the 3rd. And so we need to go back and look at what's happened there. So on the 3rd of January, 3 things occurred that really mattered. One is we had 2 rockets target U.S. Army bases in eastern Syria. So that occurred on the 3rd, actually. This article came out on the 4th. We also, on the 3rd, had a attack on Damascus airport. So this all occurred on basically the same day at the same time. And so I talked about that 3rd date and how I believe that was going to accelerate all these different issues and how this is going to start to bring Daniel 8 into the forefront. And what's caused a lot of this inflammation in this region between Israel, Iran, Palestine, Hamas, Hezbollah, and all these groups is that the Prime Minister of Israel visited the Temple Mount, which is prohibited. It's forbidden. And so, for some reason, this man decided to take upon himself the ability to go to the temple and rile everybody up in the region. And this is going to cause a lot of friction as we move forward because it's just not done. And he knew better than to do this. But it has happened, and so we're going to move forward and see where this takes us. So even al-Sisi came out from Egypt and indicated that this was a terrible idea that this prime minister went up there, and they tried to stop him. Even Netanyahu tried to stop him from going up there, but he went ahead and did this anyway. And so this is a problem because if you go into Isaiah 28 to 38 chapters, prophecy of what's coming up, it states that Israel would align with Egypt and Turkey to remove the Assyrian or the Iranian. But this would end up badly, as Isaiah tells them, that Israel should have relied on God and not these other 2 nations to help them. And because of that, he would send Turkey against them after Iran falls. And so, if you go back in history, what happens is Egypt aligns with Israel, and then they bail on them. And they go back to Egypt, and they leave Israel basically hanging out here. And there's a reason for this, because once Turkey destroys Iran and heads to Egypt, and then back to Israel, they're already under distress. And so Egypt is not going to be in a position to help Israel once Turkey gets to the position of attacking Israel by the end of this year. Once Iran falls, Daniel 8 prophecy pretty much completes, and then we start the Ezekiel 38-39 prophecy that takes 10 nations to Egypt and then into Israel. And so we need to understand how this is all being played out in real time as we speak. So Erdogan just came out, warned that ties with Israel will cause a big headache from Hamas. And so they're even warning them that this Temple Mount visit was bad, and this is going to cause all kinds of problems because the Muslims will not tolerate the Jews visiting the Temple Mount, not under the agreement that they have in place right now. The Jews themselves feel that they have the right to pray at the Temple Mount and be part of that, but under the agreement that they have right now, they don't have that ability. It's forbidden. So for this gentleman to do this, as Prime Minister of Israel, to go up there, this was basically just a catalyst to cause all kinds of friction between all these different groups. And this is going to boil up within the next few days, weeks, or in the next few months. And as I said, Palestine is concerned now that their whole system is going to collapse due to what is happening here. And so this is going to boil up, and Palestine is going to fall under the pressure of Iran and all these proxy groups that Iran controls, and they're going to have to capitulate and do something as we move forward. And so Palestine is in a bad position. Hezbollah sort of controls this government, and Hezbollah also is putting the reins on Hamas right now. And if this all breaks down, then all these groups will go against Israel as we move forward. So as all this is happening between Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, and Israel, Turkey's in the background starting an invasion, or getting ready to start a land invasion into Iraq and Syria. Now in Syria, he's working with Putin to control Assad, because Putin doesn't want Assad to be removed from his position. And so he's working with Turkey, Putin's working with Turkey to keep Assad in place. And so Assad now is basically holding Syria in place, driving the Kurds out, and then they're going to slide into Iraq, because they're going to have to, as they're being pushed out of Turkey and Syria, they're all going to move into Iraq, and then they're going to be shifted to the southeast. Well, Turkey just unleashed new attacks on the Kurds in Iraq. And so he's repositioning his army right now for a land invasion, and now Putin's given him the air rights over Syria. And even Iraqi government's concerned at this point that Turkey's going to come in and basically take over the country. And so this is a problem for a number of groups. And like I said, if you look at the map, you'll realize that Iran is surrounded by Turkey and its proxies, because they own Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan. Sorry about that. Turkmenistan in the north. They own the Taliban through Afghanistan to the east. They're going to own Syria and Iraq on the west, and they also control parts of Yemen and Oman in the south. And so Iran's in an extremely precarious position in the sense that they're surrounded by Turkey and its proxies at this very moment. So Turkey is now launching main attacks through Operation Claw Sword against the Kurds, which are the PKK militants. And this is, the whole process is to genocide the Kurds, because Turkey has Kurds in their country, and the Kurds basically occupy 4 different countries within these regions, but Turkey's driving them out because they believe they're terrorists. And even in NATO, Turkey has now got to a position with Sweden and Finland where they're not going to give up any more ground on allowing them into NATO. So Finland and Sweden are trying to get into NATO, but all NATO representatives, including Turkey, have to agree to this, or they can't be introduced into NATO. And so I believe Turkey will leave NATO as we move forward, because their interests conflict with NATO, and he's concerned about rebuilding an Ottoman footprint. He really doesn't care about the Ukrainian NATO war up there, other than Russians in the middle of that, and Russia's also controlling parts of Iran through different things that they're doing. And one of the things that they're doing is that Putin is supplying Iran with nuclear weapon parts in exchange for killer drones, based on this article. So Iran is going to get a bomb real soon. Turkey's not going to allow them to destroy the Temple Mount. That's why they're aligning with Israel, so that Iran won't have the ability to attack God's seat. And Turkey wants that seat. And so that's why he's going to end up in Israel and attack them before this is over in the next year. So as he moves to Iran and then to Egypt and then back into Israel, we're going to start to see this take place, and we're going to start to see the prophecies play out in front of us. Even Netanyahu's government is under fire from their own people, like Gantz right now, because It's an extremely right, heavy-winged group of people in his administration, and this is causing all kinds of problems for other factions and groups within Israel. And so even Benny Gantz believes that possibly Netanyahu will start a civil war within his own country. So that's going to cause additional tension as this plays forward. One thing that I saw today that I thought was very interesting, that I believe goes along with the Ottoman Empire and how this is all not just coincidence and everything is actually forming out in front of us right now, that the former and last king of Greece dies at 82. That was yesterday, actually. Today, now it's the 11th because it's 12/22, so I'm in between days here. So yesterday on the 10th, which is when I actually started this video, so that's amazing. The former and last king of Greece dies at 82. And you say, well, why is that important? Because Greece is part of that Ottoman footprint. And if you remember, if you go back in the history books, if you look at some of the old videos that I've done, Greece was moved, as the Romans were moved from Greece, they were moved to Constantinople, Turkey. And then you had the Western and Eastern divisions form, and then they were overthrown by the Ottomans over time. And so why is this important? Because I think it goes along with what the topic is right now, that we're reforming this Ottoman Empire, that the old Constantine Empire of Greece now is completely gone, and that Erdogan is going to reform this, and he's going to absorb Greece into this Ottoman Empire as he moves forward. So not only are you going to see an attack on Iran, he's going to try to figure out how to absorb Greece into this picture too. So this is extremely important. I don't know if anybody's really paying attention to this story. I thought it was extremely interesting, the timing that this king of Greece would die as Erdogan is threatening Greece with existence at this very moment. The last thing that I wanted to present was that in France, we had those 3 Kurdish people killed. That's caused massive demonstrations within France. But then on top of that, this Charlie Hebdo cartoons that portray Allah was presented at this very moment. And so this inflamed Hezbollah even more. And so this, I believe, is going to break down quickly, and we're going to see Hezbollah, Hamas, and the proxies attack Israel in the near future. Israel would retaliate. So if Hezbollah and Hamas send hundreds, if not thousands, of missiles into Israel as an attack, as they have in the past, Israel is not going to stand for this. They're already in the process of removing the Palestinians out of these areas, and so there's a lot of conflict on the ground, and this is just going to cause more problems. And if Palestine is concerned that their government is getting ready to collapse, then Hezbollah is going to step in, and they're going to unleash Hamas, and this is going to unleash a missile barrage against Israel. Israel's going to retaliate, and then Turkey's going to invade, and they're going to come around and destroy Iran as we move forward, because they now have aligned with Israel. And as Isaiah says, when Egypt, Turkey, and Israel align, the Assyrian will fall by Turkey. But that will turn out badly, because Turkey will come back against Israel over time. And I believe that will happen by the end of 23 as we move forward. Watch what's going on out here. Put your oil in your lamp. Get right with Jesus. He is the way to heaven. He's the only way to heaven. You need to put oil in your lamp. This is going to break soon. Hyperinflation is going to take over in 23, and if you're not buying your stuff now, it'll be 3 or 4 times more expensive in the future as we move forward in the next year. So we shouldn't be concerned necessarily about the crop production of this last year, but we should be concerned about the crop production and the food and things that are going to be on our tables as we move forward, as prices, fertilizer, and all these things start to affect the food chains. And then if you have a potential invasion of Taiwan with China, the shelves will have only about 10% of the products on them that you see now. And so if you aren't getting your oil in your lamp and getting ready for the next 4.5 to 5 years, you're probably not going to do well, and your families are going to suffer. So please do put oil in your lamp. You know, Jesus loves you. He wants you to be in his kingdom. But he doesn't want you to suffer, and he warned you this was coming. So please take heed of his warning and do what's necessary to protect your families. God bless everybody. Have a great night.